Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Divine Cupid podcast. If you're new, I'm your host India Watson, and if you're not new, welcome back. So, welcome back to another podcast episode. Happy Sunday. It's so hot outside. Oh my gosh, it's so hot in this house. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of burning up. Happy Sunday. I already said that. I'm gonna give you guys like a bit of a life update. I actually have been trying to come up with like the perfect podcast episode. I have been really trying to be more intentional with podcasting. I know I say this often, but literally like putting more energy into my content and what I'm producing. I think that's been something that's been like the focus of my week this week. I've been listening to podcasts myself, which as a podcaster, I don't typically and usually listen to podcasts, but that's been something that I've been doing. I've been feeling like this overwhelming amount of energy to just pour into myself. I feel like we are so often and so commonly pouring our energy into other people, and we subconsciously expect the same thing in return. Like, oh my gosh, I'm giving you all my time and my attention, I want you to do the same for me. And we get our feelings hurt and we get butt hurt when people aren't doing the same for us. And the only way to really combat that is putting that energy into ourselves. So we don't have to worry about other people doing the things that we want them to be doing for us. We're giving it to ourselves. So that's been the forefront of like my week and what I've been thinking about doing for myself. Other than that, like I started a new job and that's going great. That's been great. That's a blessing. I'm really trying to pave my path and figure out what works best for me. Sorry, I know you guys heard me say Beth. What works best for me and really find my place and my standing right now. Yeah. I feel like I've been listening. Okay, I woke up this morning and I was listening to a podcast, and it was, I don't know what the title was called, but it was by Caroline Winkler. I don't know necessarily. Sorry, I know I'm touching my eyeball a lot. My lashes are like really messing with my eye today. I don't really know if it's necessarily a podcast, but I was watching her YouTube video and it kind of struck something in me to talk about on my podcast myself. I feel like, okay, on my podcast, I've always said, like, I don't want this to be a podcast centered around relationships, and I don't want it to be like a boy craze thing, a girl craze thing. Like, I want it to be a podcast centered around self-help. And the best way that I've learned to help myself is by speaking up in situations where I know that I'm falling short, or I know that I need to recognize some of my flaws in. One of my biggest setbacks I feel like I have faced currently is having an anxious attachment in a relationship. Honestly, when you're single, I talk about healing a lot. I've talked about my past relationship experiences. I've talked about how I've never been in an official relationship, and walking into this journey of my life, walking into this stage of my life, and this season of my life, I have always believed like when a relationship had finally come to me and when I have finally gotten into a relationship, everything would be picture perfect and it would be easy and it would be fun and it would be beautiful. I feel like my idea of relationships has always been something that was either one, super duper romanticized, and I've only saw the good and glory of a relationship. Yes, we know relationships do have their ups and downs and their hardships, but I did a little bit of reflecting and I realized like my standards for what I imagined and thought a relationship should be were unrealistic and unpractical in a sense of what a relationship actually is. To some and to most, that can seem like a big letdown. We think our relationships are supposed to look like this picture perfect fairy tale fantasy, and sometimes they just aren't. Relationships I genuinely believe are meant to teach you about yourself, and in the relationships that I believe that I'm in, it's like every day I have my partner holding up a mirror to me and I'm looking at myself within that mirror and seeing all of the things that I need to work on. And it's not so much, oh, this person is telling me I'm doing this and this and this and this and that wrong. It's so much of my trauma speaking up in these relationships. It's so much of my past experiences, coming into forefront with me. It's a lot of the things that I genuinely believe that I had healed and moved away from and walked away from that are still bubbling up in today's time, in the way that I am loving other people, in the way that I'm treating other people, in the way that I'm responding to certain things. And a lot of my relationships, I feel like I had always had to walk on eggshells. Necessarily, I've always been it's always been more toxic. Okay, that I feel like was one of the biggest hardships. I feel like establishing if I had feelings for someone if the relationship wasn't toxic. I feel like that's a mindset a lot of us carry, that we believe that in order to feel love and be loved is there has to be a level of toxicity within the relationship. That I think was a big standard that I had to debunk in my own life and really work through, because I, in my mind, was like, oh, like, they're not arguing with me. Like, they must not like me. Like, oh my gosh, like, you know, they're handling situations very gently with me, and contrary to us, like, legitimately having, like, full-on screaming matches, arguments, like, you know, things like that. Like, oh, I don't know if that's love. Because in my mind, love with the people that I had been trying to give my love to had always been argumentative. It hadn't been communicative. It hadn't been like trying to sit down and actually have an understanding of one another. It had been blocking, unblocking, text nowing, like all of the things you could think of. Like, it had just been, from what I genuinely believe to be levels of toxicity and things that are just unhealthy, not only to yourself but your nervous system. Like, I think being in stages where you're constantly in a panic of whether your partner is being loyal to you or disloyal to you, depending on how the day ended between the both of you, that should never be the case. And I think a lot of the things that I'm walking into now with the situations that I'm in, I have to unlearn a lot of the patterns with the situations that I was previously in. And that's hard. The anxious attachment, I feel like for me, that comes within my relationship is due to a lack of being grounded in relationships that I was already in. I say a lot on my podcast, like, I was never, sorry, my lashes are bugging. There we go. We'll just put that right here. But I've never officially been in a relationship, which I have stated so many times in my podcast that I've never officially been in a relationship. Yet I don't let that deter from my romantic experiences that I have had with other people. Though there have not been official titles, I still feel like the experience counts for what it's worth as to what it's taught you, what you've learned through it, what you've moved through, what you've gone through. You know, you can still heal from things that don't necessarily require a extreme title. You know, I feel like a lot of people believe, like, I literally was just talking to a friend about this, and she was like ranting to me about this guy that, you know, she had gotten with, and she was like, we're not dating, so I feel like I have no room to be upset. And I feel like we do ourselves a disservice when, obviously, so a lot of the times we're not really thinking logically, and we put ourselves in situations that we could have easily avoided if we were, you know, being conscientious and thinking about what the situation was, what it looked like, and how it would affect us in our future. But 9 times out of 10, we're not thinking like that, and we're just going for what we feel like we need to be doing. And that's fine. That's understandable. I get that. But I feel like the disservice that we constantly do to ourselves is minimizing the room that we have to feel the things that we feel. You know, we're always trying to rationalize situations for other people and, you know, belittle ourselves in the process. I feel like if you feel something, who are you and why should you tell yourself, I'm not allowed to feel this because we are not official? No. People make you feel things, so allow yourself to feel those things and vocalize those things and communicate those things. I think the whole mindset of being like, oh, we're not dating, so I have no room to feel those things. Yes, given with being in a relationship, there's more privileges and more accessibility to do certain things and have access to certain people in certain ways. But because of like how this generation is set up now, and how a lot of people are engaging in hookup culture, and how a lot of people are, you know, selling each other a dream of a relationship without actually having the intention of pursuing that relationship, you're still entitled to feel the way you feel, you know. But that also harms you so deeply down the future when you are in a relationship. It still creates an emotional and anxious attachment to your partner, because now you're feeling like in the back of your mind, oh, even though we are dating, like, am I still allowed to feel the things that, you know, I want to vocalize and say, like, I feel. I think for me, in my relationship, I am always like, I don't want to bring too many things up because I don't want to push somebody away because I have too many things on my mind. I'm a person, I'm always thinking, my mind is always roaming, I'm always, you know, having certain thoughts, and I'm very, or have tried to be very communicative. And sometimes I worry and I dread overly communicating to my partner, you know, my needs and my feelings, and I put myself in a box. And why do I do this? I do this because in my other relationships, I wasn't given the room to communicate. I wasn't given the space to say how I felt. And when I was, my feelings were minimized. So now I feel like if I bring stuff up, will my feelings be minimized? Do I have the space in the room to talk about these things? Even though I know I do. I know I'm allowed to talk about my feelings. I know it would be only a disservice to myself in the relationship to not talk about the way that I feel. I'm in a constant anxiety sometimes about things that just are not within my control. For me, my biggest vendetta going into relationships in general, I've always thought about it, was I don't want to be in a relationship because people aren't loyal. And I've had to learn that, loyalty is a choice. Relationship and love is a choice. When people are doing things, it's because they choose to do them. A person who is not loyal to you, they choose to be disloyal to you. And there's nothing that you can do to really control that. You can't show up more. You can't love them more. There are people who are in relationships where they are living together and they are with their person every single day and they are still being cheated on, because when someone is cheating, that is a choice that they choose to make. There is nothing that you can do about it that, makes that less than what it's supposed to be, It's just what people choose to do. So that's always been my anxiety going into relationships. That's always been my fear dealing with certain things is, will I be cheated on? And that's unrealistic. That's unpractical. That's, unfortunate. It's sad that so many people do get cheated on. I've seen so many people cheat. I've been the girl that people have cheated with. I've been in so many different boats and positions that I'm like, I don't want this. I want to avoid this. I don't want to be in a relationship for this exact reason. And there's things you have to debunk in that. I feel like relationships really are to allow you to reflect on yourself. That's what I have been doing in my relationship, to say the least. I realized I already am a person with a lot of anxiety. Okay. I have so much anxiety and so many things. My day-to-day scrolling on TikTok and seeing so many different videos about so many different things gives me anxiety. It's so bad. Nobody wants to live their life with so much anxiety, obviously. And I've been trying to navigate through all of the anxiety that I feel, rather that be in my relationship and in my own day-to-day life, which I've said. And it's hard. And I feel like the first step obviously is recognizing it. I can't really give such tangible and practical advice because I'm now just realizing I have relationship anxiety, and I didn't realize that I had a relationship anxiety, and I don't want relationship anxiety. I don't want to feel anxious if my partner is going out, and I don't want to feel anxious if my partner's not texting back because I feel like they're mad at me and they're upset with me and I did something wrong and I'm the fault and I'm the blame. I don't want to feel those things, and I don't feel like people should feel those things when they walk into relationships. Obviously, I think some things that have always been in the back of my mind is when I'm alone, I don't feel these things. I don't feel like I'm a burden, or I don't feel like I'm a problem, or I don't feel any of these things. And I'm not in any way saying, oh, the person that I'm with makes me feel these things. My anxiety kind of cripples me because my trauma speaks through what I already have worked past and what I've already worked through. Sometimes our trauma is louder than our own personal voice. Our trauma speaks louder than what our feelings and our heart are saying to us. For me, I'm so grounded in my relationship that I know the person that I'm with, I love so much and so dearly, and I love the way that I'm being treated. I love the way I'm being heard. I love the way I feel when I'm with this person. I love those things. And my trauma kind of whispers in my ear, you're not safe. You're not comfortable. This person secretly hates you. They're only with you because you're accessible and you're there, and they're just waiting for someone else. And that's what my trauma says to me, because that's what I felt like I was experiencing in my prior relationships. You carry your trauma from person to person to person when you don't sit down with yourself and heal it. I've been doing a lot of reflective journaling. Not that it's been fun, not that it's been easy, but it's been beneficial. It's been good to kind of sit down with different aspects of myself and different versions of my life and be like, oh shit, this is why I'm this way, or this is why I think this, or this is why I feel this. I'm reflecting. I'm looking back at certain things and I'm analyzing, oh shit, damn, this was that situation and this is how it's showing up in my life now and today. It's hard. It's hard because, like I always say, friendships, whether you're in a relationship or not, because you can even have anxiety in your friendships, I carry a lot of friendship trauma. I'm not going to sit up here and lie to you. I've lost my closest best friends. I loved them so dear to life, so much. I would never have traded our friendship for anything in the world. And at first, talking about how I lost my best friends was so hard for me because I was like, damn, I really lost my best friends. We'd always joke and laugh and be like, if we ever stop being friends, this would have to be the case. And we actually stopped being friends. And that impacted me so much because the way that we stopped being friends, I never would have imagined that. Like, I never would have painted that out to be the picture. Like, I never in a million years would have guessed and thought. But that has carried trauma in my other friendships now, because I'm like, oh, like, I'm reflecting and looking back on the friendship, and I'm like, okay, like, that was kind of maybe a red flag that I just like bypassed and ignored, and that was also a red flag. And then I also look at myself and be like, okay, well, I understand why, we didn't carry on into the following seasons of our lives, and I understand why, they might have had an issue with certain things in certain aspects. Like, it's allowed me to grasp so many different concepts, because I've not only mourned the friendship, I've mourned both of those friendships, but I've analyzed and I've reflected on why they ended and why it needed to end. But the trauma has carried into other friendships, like, oh, I don't want to tell you so much myself, because, like, what if you secretly, like, grow some animosity towards me? Or my best friends, like, we had been friends for so long, I would just tell them everything. Like, I felt like they know me as well as I knew myself, and so I just felt like I don't want to deal with the burden of someone getting super duper close to me and, like, getting to know my family and everything about me, and just, like, stop being friends with me. Like, friendship breakups are hard. Friendship breakups hurt. I hate when people act like it's hard. It's not hard losing someone that's super duper close to you, someone that you consider to be your best friend. And my friendship trauma has kind of stemmed in so many different things that, like, now when I'm making new friends, I'm super superficial with them. I'm like, I don't really want to get super close to you. I don't know you. Like, yes, it's cool to hang out, but I don't consider you anything more as, like, an associate. And that's how I am with a lot of people in my life. I only would consider myself to have, like, one or two friends, and everybody else is just people who were in my life. And I know sometimes that can also be very damaging, because not everybody else is going to trigger something in you. Everything and anything in your life is meant to be an experience, and it's meant to be something that you do experience and you learn from. And I've learned from every single aspect and dynamic of my life, but it's hard because you can say you've learned from something, you can say you've moved on from something, but you can still be impacted by it to this day. And I think because we heal and we move on, we think it's not going to show up later in life and affect us in different ways. And it just means you have to heal again. Healing is not linear. I know we talk about that a lot. I know people say that a lot. Healing is not linear, because it's not. It shows up in the randomest of times. Your traumas speak louder than your heart speaks up. And you just have to sit with it for a bit. You can't constantly, think everybody's against you and the world is coming crashing down on you. But you have to learn to adjust with what is showing up in your life, and sit with yourself and be like, why do I feel this way? And I already thought I healed from it. Why am I feeling like this again? And why am I feeling like this still? And really, like, understanding, like, oh, okay, how do I go forward from here? For me, working through a lot of my traumatic experiences have been journaling. It has been praying. I pray a lot more than I used to. I stopped praying for a really long time and talking to God, and now that's something that I try to do routinely, and I try to do more often and more frequently. I'm trying and starting to get back into reading my Bible and listening to podcasts, because sometimes knowing that somebody else can relate to what you're going through can make you feel comforted in the situation that you're already in. Sometimes we are dealing with a lot of our circumstances and we feel like I'm alone, and I'm the only person that feels this way, and I'm the only person going through these things, and you're not alone. You're not the only person that's experiencing anxious attachment in your friendships, anxious attachment in your relationships. I want us to stop believing that certain things and certain parts of our feelings bubble up only in relationships, when they very much show up in our day-to-day lives and our friendships and our relationship, even with ourselves. Like, it's always showing up. And yeah, we just need to walk away from the fact that not only things don't only happen and occur just in relationships. They happen every day, all the time. I've been trying to read books again. It's hard because I get off work and I'm literally so tired, but I know, like, you need to rewire yourself. You need to rewire your brain, rewire your nervous system, rewire the way that you think about things, the way that you feel about things, the way that you go about things, and know that a situation was meant to teach you something, not to keep you chained up in what was. You need to become something new. You need to expand out of your cocoon, your chrysalis, and you need to be this beautiful butterfly that you were meant to be. You're not meant to be chained to your trauma. you're not meant to be chained to your trauma. Like, literally, let that be said. You are not meant to be chained to your trauma. Your trauma is not meant to hold you hostage. Your trauma, though I don't want to negate that it's hard to move past traumatic events and traumatic experiences, but you are not meant to be consumed by your trauma, because then that turns into anxiety and you are anxious in everything you step foot into. And a person who is constantly in anxiety, like, I feel like obviously there's good anxiety and bad anxiety, but when you're ruled over by bad anxiety, so many good things in your life crumble because you did not learn how to heal so many different things about yourself and in your life. Me and my girlfriend were on the phone, and I was telling her, I was like, sometimes I just feel like I'm suffocating you, and I feel like I'm kind of telling you all of these things that I'm realizing, and all of these things that I don't know. I just feel like I'm talking about so many things, but I don't want it to feel suffocating. And she's very reassuring, very like, oh, I don't feel suffocated. Like, I like very understanding. You know, I'm open about the things that I've gone through. I'm open about the experiences that I've been in, and I'm open about the lessons that I've learned from them. But in some ways and in some times, those feelings and those things still show up. And I think when we also are so cooped up in ourselves, which is what I was talking about with the whole like suffocation concept, when we're so cooped up in ourselves, we forget to focus and worry about other people. Relationships are not all about you. They're about a unity, they're about a togetherness, and they're about a growing aspect of both of you in your lives. You know, it's about two people growing as individuals and growing together. And it's hard to grow together when you feel like your anxiety keeps you crippled up in the dark and like you're not allowed to speak and vocalize what's going on in your life. That's one factor that hinders a relationship from actually growing and being a prospering relationship. And also when your anxiety kind of just makes you not attack your partner, but blame them. Or I feel like that's a really poor term, but consequence them for the things that have happened in your life. You know, I do believe people are meant to help you work through your trauma and help you work through things in your life, but they are not at fault for the things that have happened to you. It is your responsibility to work through the things that you have gone through, and they are there to be emotional support and give you the grace that you need to walk in the steps that you need to take in order to change and to be a reflective version of yourself and to be the better and best version of yourself. They are meant to be the emotional support in that capacity, because if you get into a relationship thinking that they're going to heal everything about you and that your life is going to suddenly improve and that you're going to get happier, you are so wrong. I'm here to tell you this today in real time. Like, you're so incredibly wrong. I really thought relationships were peaches and cream and rainbows and sunshine, and I feel like I could not have been more far from the truth. Like, yes, it's beautiful and it's amazing and it's fun and it's awesome, but it's hard when you know that there's still trauma that you thought you healed and you buried. Like, just because you get a shovel and you throw your traumas in a ditch 6 feet under and you throw the dirt on top doesn't mean it's not going to come back up. Like, for me, it's been a lot of working through things and really like reflecting and opening up, because you're experiencing different versions of yourself while you're in a relationship. You know, you're learning how to do things better or how to do things less. You're learning how to show up more. And each person you get with is different. So the way you loved your last partner is not the same way you're going to love your current partner. The way you communicated with your last partner is not the same way you're going to communicate with your current partner. Like, you're just going to do different things in different aspects at different times. And that's so much growth and so much learning and so much evolution. Having an anxious attachment is hard. You know, and what's harder is being with someone who has an avoidant attachment. I think that's something that I've just been in for so many cycles of people who have been avoidance, and I'm so like a overly anxious person. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, they're literally pulling away from me, and I feel it. And I was talking to my friend yesterday, and I was like, I've realized within myself that when people had pulled it away from me, I would pull closer. And I realized, like, listening to the Try Not to Care podcast, she even was talking about this. Not so much when people pull away, she pulls closer, but she would try to overcompensate for what they were lacking, you know? When a person was cheating on you, or if a person is cheating on you, when you give them more forgiveness and more grace, that only gives them more room to continue to cheat on you. When a person sees you're smothering them, they feel suffocated. They don't want to stay, you know? They don't want to, they feel like, oh my gosh, I have so much access to her. She's so available for me. She's so needy and clingy, and she really needs me. You're heightening their ego when you pull closer to someone who's so constantly avoidant and is signifying and showing, oh my gosh, get the hell away from me. Like, oh my God, move. It doesn't make the relationship better. you can't carry the relationship on your back on your own. Being with an avoidant person, you can't change them, and you can't make them need you and yearn for you and long for you in the same way that people with anxious attachment do. And the only way to really build to have a secure attachment in yourself is to really be comfortable with being alone and rewiring your brain to not thinking that everybody is out to get you. One thing I feel like is very big in my mind and in my heart is that love is a choice. Okay. Now, love is a choice. Relationships, friendships, relationship with yourself, anything. Love is a choice. Anybody you love, anything that loves you, anyone that loves you, that is a choice. So every day you have to actively walk in the choice to be loving and catering to someone else, you know? Someone who wakes up one day and is like, I don't love you anymore. One, they chose to do that. Two, they didn't love you to begin with. Because when you are in love and you are loving someone, you are choosing to do that every single day. You are choosing, and I don't mean to say, oh my gosh, my boyfriend of 7 years broke up with me, that means he never loved me, because at some point he probably did. But there are just times where you're growing apart from people, you need different things out of people, the relationship isn't serving you anymore. There still is love there, but that's not the love and the only love you will experience in your life. When I mean by love is a choice, your partner who cheated on you 5 times with 5 different girls, he does not love you. I really, really ground myself to what scripture says, that love is patient, love is kind, love is slow to anger, you know, all of those things. I feel like that's big, you know, like love truly is patient, love truly is kind, love is slow to anger, love is listening, love is waking up every single day and giving your partner grace in the things, because they're not a perfect person. I think one thing that was really affirmative to me was that was something that my partner had said, like off rip, like before we even like really like knew each other, we were like talking about like what love is, and I was saying like love to me had looked like all of these things, and I realized like those things were not love. Like love to me was based off of physicality. Love to me was based off of what a person could do for me. Love to me was how people have made me feel despite, or what they were saying to me despite what they were showing me, you know? And that was my prior idea to what love was and what love had looked like and symbolized to me. And I remember she had said like, no, like love is patient, love is kind, love is good, love does not, what did she say? Love, first off, love is love. Oh my God, I'm stuttering. Love is slow to anger, but love does not put you in situations where you feel like you have to prove yourself. Love does not put you in predicaments where you have to feel like you're in competition with someone else. Like love doesn't make you feel like you need to overperform and overdo yourself to please somebody in your life who loves you. You can show up as your, you know, not lowest version of yourself, but you can show up even not even feeling like yourself, and there's someone there in the corner of the room ready to love you despite all of your hardships, your traumas, your fears, the things that you're struggling with. Like they're still there to love you through that. God every day shows us the ultimate amount of love and kindness every day through his grace and his mercy in our lives. I feel like that is the ultimate representation of love. And when you are meeting people who actively are choosing to love you, that's how you know you have found something good. You know, if love to you looks like when your clothes are off and when you're only being called in the middle of the night, that's not love. When you're only being thought about at 3 a.m, that's not love. I've been there to where I thought love had to come with, I had to do something, I had to perform, I had to show up and be the sexiest and the hottest. Like I want to be like looking like chopped chuz and still be like, oh my gosh, like you're so beautiful, like you're like the prettiest thing ever. Like really, I'm like, oh my God, I look disgusting, but I'm glad that you think I look nice. Like I don't feel that, but I'm glad that you see that in me, and that it should be vice versa, you know, being able to show up in like the really deepest, most pit of yourself and still be loved through that, you know, still being able to be vulnerable with your partner, still being able to be open with your partner, to communicate with your partner. A lot of it really does come down to sometimes looking at yourself, looking at what is in alignment with you, looking at what you want out of the things that you are trying to pursue, and seeing if that fits you. Having an anxious attachment, you have to really recenter and refocus a lot of your energy into healing those things about yourself to have a relationship that prospers not only with other people but with yourself. Because when you're carrying this anxious attachment, it doesn't really affect your relationships as badly as it affects you. Because if you think, okay, I'm just going to leave my partner because I'm feeling so much anxiety about things and they've given me no reason to feel anxious and no reason to feel bad, I'm just going to leave them because it was so much easier when I was alone and it was so much better because I didn't have to worry and I didn't have to stress about these things. You're going to get into another relationship one day and you're going to be so in love with this person and the same thing is going to happen to you. And you're going to sit there and you're going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, I am in love. Like, I love this person. And I still feel the same things that I felt in my last relationship. Like, yeah, I loved that person. But, like, it just, to me, the anxiety wasn't worth that love. But, like, this anxiety, I can't feel it. I don't like it. And I still want to feel loved. And you know why you can't walk in a peace of mind in the relationship you are now in? Is because the relationship you left was meant to teach you something. So now the relationship that you're in has to teach you something else. You know, you have to learn more than one lesson in more than one place. I have told myself, like, if you walk away from this relationship today because it got too hard for you, then you're going to be in the next relationship tomorrow. Not actually, but you're going to be in the next relationship tomorrow dealing with the same damn problems. The problems are not going to walk away. I think for me, one thing that has really taught me a lot of the things is you cannot run from your problems, and putting distractions in your life will not make them go away. You're still going to have to deal with the same issue that you're facing today, tomorrow. You're going to have to face it, not today, next week, in 2 months. And that big opportunity you've been looking forward to, you're going to be faced with the feeling it's not going to go away. It's not going to leave your life alone, and it's not going to leave you alone until you heal it and you deal with it and you get over it and you move through it. That is how you navigate through eras and issues in your life. You sit with it, learn to sit with the problems in your life, reflect on it, analyze it, grow from it, move on, you know, accept the situation. You can heal, you can do it, you got this. Like, stop discrediting yourself. Stop telling yourself you can't do it. Stop saying it's too hard. Everything in this life is hard. Everything in this world is hard. The hardship that you went through was hard. Being at rock bottom is hard. But you know what's harder? Not being able to enjoy the things that you truly want in your life and you truly want to enjoy because you gave up because something was too hard for you. Something that is meant to benefit you, fulfill you, and allow you to grow was too hard. There are growing pains in every single aspect of your life. Adulthood, childhood, teenage years, you know, everything. There's growing pains in every aspect of your life, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You have to go through it to make those big breakthroughs. You will not make a breakthrough if you're standing in a place of complacency and in a place of, I'm scared of being uncomfortable. If you're scared of discomfort, you're not going to grow. If you're scared of confronting your feelings head on, you're not going to grow. If you talk so much about elevation and change and you do absolutely nothing about it, don't expect to elevate and don't expect to change, because those things won't happen for you. And I'm sorry that I had to be the one to break you the bad news, but I'm glad that you get to hear it from me and, you know, not have to hear it 10 years later because you avoided all your problems. I thought if I ran away from my problems too, that they would get better. I had to sit in a dark room and confront them head on to get to the point where I'm at now. I've had to make horrible decisions to know how to make better decisions. And even in the times where I knew to not make bad decisions, I didn't have the self-control and the self-restraint enough to make better decisions. So everything in your life is meant to teach you something. And the people in your life are meant to teach you something. The anxious attachment in your life is there because it's teaching you how to heal from something that feels like it's unhealable. You know, nothing goes away, okay? No, trauma doesn't go away. You learn how to handle it. You learn how to work through it. You learn how to live with it. You know, trauma helps you be precautious. Trauma helps you be careful. And trauma helps you not make the same mistake again, okay? It's meant to be lived with. It's not meant to hang over your head like a death sentence. It's meant to help you grow. It's meant to help you elevate. And I don't want to seem like a idiot in not all trauma is trauma that you can easily move from. I'm aware. Not all trauma is trauma that you can just wake up one day and it's gone and it's over. I get it. But there are some things in your life you have full control over: yourself, your actions, your reactions, and your effort in changing. And I just want to emphasize that because that's something that I've needed to emphasize to myself. I made this podcast episode not only for you, but definitely for me, because walking in a relationship with an anxious attachment has made me feel like I'm losing my goddamn mind, okay? It's made me feel bad about things that I don't need to feel bad about. And it's made me realize that in order to really be successful in a relationship, I have to reflect on the things that have happened in previous relationships and not just move on from it. I have to really understand and analyze what they were teaching me and why I went through those things. So on that note, I'm done talking. That was it for today's podcast episode, guys. I love you so much. I will see you guys next Sunday. If you love this podcast, I'm so happy you did. I'm so grateful. Follow me on Apple Music and Spotify. Send this to someone who you feel like needed to hear it. And if you're listening on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. I respond to everybody's comments. I see you guys. I'm listening. I'm reading comments. I love it. I love interacting with you guys. Like and subscribe. I love seeing how fast my podcast is growing. That makes me so happy. And if you want more content, follow me on TikTok. It's at The Divine Cupid. Follow me on Instagram. It's also at The Divine Cupid. My Instagram is currently deactivated. I don't know if I'm ever going to reactivate it, but those are my only 2 social medias right now that you can get more content from. And if you want, not that I'm on it, but you can also follow me on Substack. I think it's at Little Miss Cupid. That's not affiliated with the podcast. I love Cupid concept, love vibration forever. But I don't know. I want to get on Substack. So yeah. If you guys enjoyed all of those things, please like, comment, subscribe, share, follow my podcast, everything, send it to a friend. I love you guys so incredibly, so much. I will see you next Sunday. Goodbye.